February, which means it's time to celebrate Black History Month in Walt Disney World. Hello Man Fam, and welcome back to Snacks and Facts, the series that during month-long celebrations throughout the year, we head around Walt Disney World to check out how they're celebrating, try some of their seasonal snacks, and more importantly, share the story of the Imagineers, artists, and creatives who have brought these wonderful places and movies and films that we all know and love to life. I absolutely love doing these videos because it's so much fun to dig into some Imagineers and creatives that maybe aren't as well known as others and share their stories, all the while trying delicious food around Walt Disney World, which, most importantly, y'all, they finally brought beignets to the Magic Kingdom. I've done enough talking. We gotta get to Frontierland. That's right, friends. We wished upon that wishing star like Tiana told us to. And Disney finally brought beignets here to Magic Kingdom. Now, they're only for February right now for the Celebrate Soulfully during Black History Month seasonal event. But let us all continue wishing on that star and hope that they will be a permanent addition to the Magic Kingdom when Tiana's Bayou Adventure opens up later this year. We have made it into Frontierland. Here we've got the Golden Oak Outpost, this little stand right here that normally sells like chicken nuggets, sometimes chili fries and slushes, but they have added Tiana's man-catching beignets for the month, y'all. I'm so excited. And look, it is literally right across from where Tiana's Bayou Adventure is gonna be. You can see the beautiful crown axis coming on there. You could see the swamp coming together. And I'm just saying, we need beignets to be here year-round. Here they are, y'all. Tiana's famous beignets. They are piled mountain high with sugar. They come with a strawberry dipping sauce. Oh, please be good, please be good, please be good. All right, I'm gonna try one sans sauce to begin with. Ooh, they are already like, you know when people on TikTok do that? They're already crispier, like flakier than a Mickey beignet. Interesting. They're not as light as a Mickey beignet. The outside is kind of reminding me of a croissant, the way that it's crispy and flaky. And that's not what a Mickey beignet is like. It's also a little bit thicker on the inside. It's still really light somehow, but the Mickey beignets are like almost hollow on the inside. These are like thick all the way through. But I mean, it's delicious light fried dough. I'm gonna dip one in here now. I actually think they're less sweet than a Mickey beignet on their own, except for the mountain of piled sugar. And then when you add the strawberry sauce, which I did fear would be too artificial tasting, it's not. It tastes like a melted strawberry daiquiri kind of, but not too over the top. I'd be just happy with the beignet though. I don't need the sauce personally, and I'm just happy they're here, and I hope they come back. And while we enjoy our first treat today, it makes sense that we would talk about Floyd Norman, who was the first Black animator at the Walt Disney Animation Studios. Floyd grew up like a lot of us do, watching Disney movies. He specifically remembers watching Bambi and Dumbo and falling in love with those characters and those stories, and he even once said, "I first recognized Walt Disney's signature before I could read. I would see that famous signature on books and comics, and I asked my grandmother, 'What is that name?' She said, 'That's Walt Disney.' I never forgot that name. I just felt like I wanted to work at the Disney studio one day." One day when he was still a high school student, caught a ride over to the Walt Disney Studios on a Saturday morning. The studio was closed, but the security guard took pity on him. He said, "I didn't know any of the artists personally, but I explained to the security guard that I saw all their names, and I knew all their names from the credits of the movies he loved." He ended up getting to go in and actually talking to some of the artists. And he said, "I didn't get a job, but they were very encouraging. They suggested I go to art school, and they said it might be good to learn how to draw if you want to work here, you know?" So that's exactly what Floyd did. He majored in illustration at the Art Center College of Design in Pasadena, California. And he reached his dream of working for Disney in the late 1950s. His first job was a cleanup artist and an in-betweener artist on Sleeping Beauty. Now, a cleanup artist kind of cleans up animation, and an in-betweener, when you think about animated movies, you think of those big sweeping movements the characters make. They make a lot of movements to get in between those. So you'd have like a lead character designer do the big sweeping movements, and then you have an in-betweener come kind of fill in between those more exaggerated gestures. Eventually, Floyd would work on dozens of classics, including 101 Dalmatians, The Jungle Book, Sword in the Stone, Robin Hood, Hunchback of Notre Dame, Mulan, and even Pixar films later in his career like Monsters, Inc. Now, Floyd did leave Disney in the 1960s to found Afro Kids TV with his friend Leo Sullivan. Leo Sullivan is another legendary animator who worked on non-Disney shows such as The Flintstones, My Little Pony, Scooby-Doo, and more. And the two of them came together because they wanted to create a platform that showed things that were not always represented on TV. They wanted to be able to tell stories for Black families and children that, again, weren't traditionally seen on TV. They knew that representation mattered, and they worked on several projects together, including the original Fat Albert. Floyd came back to the Disney Studios in the 1970s, but Afro Kids TV is still going strong today. In 2007, Floyd was named a Disney legend, and in 2017, he illustrated a book about a young Walt Disney that was written by Disney legend Richard Sherman, the songwriter behind many, many famous Disney songs, including It's a Small World and The Enchanted Tiki Room and Great Big Beautiful Tomorrow. The two of them came together again to write this story and share this story about Walt Disney, and it's called A Kiss Goodnight. And now I know what I'm bringing to every baby shower for the rest of time. That sounds amazing. And in 2021, Floyd was added to the Society of Illustrators Hall of Fame. So these beignets are in honor of Floyd Norman. For over 45 years, he helped bring classic Disney characters to life, from puppies and 101 Dalmatians to Monsters and Monsters, Inc. Thank you. We don't have to travel too far for our next destination. Headed into Pecos Bill, Tall Tale Inn and Cafe. This sits right on the cusp of Frontierland as well. Pecos is your Tex-Mex style quick service restaurant. They've got tacos and fajitas and taco salads, but they've also got burgers and some barbecue. They've also got 2 items for Celebrate Soulfully. Both look pretty good. I'm excited to try them. And one of them seems to be like a new take on a quick service dish from Hollywood Studios that disappeared with the closure for COVID in 2020, so I hope it's as good as that was. All right, here are my goodies from Picos. Starting with the fried green tomato BLT sandwich. It's a fried green tomato sandwich with lettuce, bacon, and bacon pimento spread, okay, and house-made chips. So there used to be a fried green tomato sandwich at Rosie's All-American Cafe and Hollywood Studios down by Tower of Terror, and it was different than this one, but I hope this one's as good. I love pimento cheese. I wish there was a little more on there, but I'm excited. I like Texas toast. And then I also got the sweet potato pie, which is topped with toasted marshmallow cream and candied pecans. Pecans. How do you say it? I say them interchangeably. I don't know if that's incorrect, but there we go. 2 dishes from Pecos, and I'm excited to try both. All right. First up, the sandwich. Okay, let's start with the cons. It's too dry. You got a lot of dry ingredients going on. You have Texas toast, thick, 2 pieces of it. Then you've got the fried green tomato, which are coated in cornmeal, so that's inherently drier. And then you've also got bacon. And then the pimento cheese spread is supposed to be your condiment, but it's not condimenting enough. Does that make any sense? It needs some kind of like aioli or maybe ranch or something on it because it's too dry as is. So I took off 1/2 of the bread. That was the way to go. Because now, instead of just tasting dry toast, I'm tasting more of the flavor. So you've got that kind of crispiness coming from the fried green tomato, which has a little bit of kind of acidity from the actual tomato. And you've got the fatty saltiness from the bacon and the smokiness from the pimento cheese bacon spread, which I actually really like a lot. I wish that would be available to me all year long. I could use more lettuce, and I could actually use real, fresh, regular tomato on there too to add a little bit more moisture in there and add a difference in texture. But overall, it's a fine sandwich. It's definitely different compared to a lot of quick service stuff you're gonna get. I enjoyed this sandwich and the very nice house-made chips. Let's talk about Carmen Smith, which is fitting because I'm sitting right next to Tiana's Bayou Adventure, and she is one of the Imagineers overseeing the renovation. Also, though, before we get more into Carmen's story, I do want to shout out Charita Carter, who's also a female Imagineer powerhouse working on Tiana's Bayou Adventure amongst a Rolodex of other projects. But I featured her in the Women's History Month video, which is actually the first one of these I ever did last year. So I wanted to talk about some new people, but also shout out to Charita. She's a queen. Okay, let's get back to Carmen. Carmen Smith, a New Yorker, graduated with a communications degree from Hunter University. She eventually earned her master's degree in international administration from NYU, and in 2007 received an honorary doctorate from the Metropolitan College of New York. So safe to say, she's way smarter than I am, and probably most of us. She's said that she was always interested in the world. When I was reading a lot about her, she always talked about how she was very interested in politics and worlds going on and human behavior, even from a young age. I read a story where she said that at the candy shop as a little girl, she would read the New York Times, and adults would think this is funny because she's a little girl reading the New York Times, and they'd ask her why she's reading it and what she's doing, and she would say she wants to know about the world, and one day she's going to be rich, and she's going to make $30,000 a year, which was a lot at the time, and she was always laughed at. But she was never laughed at by her parents, who encouraged her to read and pursue her dreams. Eventually, she joined the Black Theater Alliance, which was a kind of theater conglomerate of a bunch of different performers and all different creative types. They are the group that produced Soul, not the Pixar film, but a black variety show, among a lot of other different projects. This opened Carmen's eyes to TV and working in production. So this is, she decided what she wanted to do. She continued to work in TV, work her way up, and eventually became a researcher and a producer for Black News, which is a media outlet that came about in the 1960s as a result of the assassination of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. Carmen says that her boss there, a man named Robert Smith, a titan in the industry, was very impactful, and that she still keeps in contact with him 45 years later. She still weekly talks to him and his wife. Carmen stated that he was the one that taught me the fundamentals of staying in the business, especially being someone of color, and that was rooted in your history. Be proud of who you are and never compromise what you believe in yourself, but always speak truth to power, and that will take you far. She claims that this is one of her guiding principles that she's used throughout the rest of her career. She continued her work in TV to work alongside Gil Noble, who was the host of Like It Is, the longest running African-American produced television program in the United States, and it documented a lot of pertinent issues that were surrounding the Black community. And she eventually met people working on this show like Desmond Tutu and Nelson Mandela. Eventually, she was approached by and became a vice president at ABC, which you probably know is owned by Disney, and part of her job was building their talent. They saw that she was a leader, they saw that she had a way with people, and they wanted to have her bring more talent into ABC so that ABC could thrive. So she redid the entire writing program, she redid a lot of the recruitment programs, and focused on recruiting people of color because she wanted to diversify what stories were being told. And her good work caught the attention of Meg Crofton, who was then the president of Walt Disney World Parks and Resorts. And she wanted her to manage the output of more diverse storytelling in a different way. So she asked her to take the leap from TV, where she's had her entire career up until now, to Imagineering. She ended up making the leap and joined Imagineering as the Vice President of Creative Development Inclusive Strategies for Walt Disney Imagineering. Long title. She was responsible for a whole array of things, including looking at diversifying products, themed experiences, and working with different people to enhance Imagineering's process globally. She's currently, let me check my notes because it's a very long title, the Senior Vice President and Executive Creative Development, Product/Content, and Inclusive Strategies for Disney Parks, Experiences, and Products. She's quoted talking about her current role as, "My role is global. We have teams of people in Tokyo, Shanghai, Hong Kong, Paris, domestic, Southeast Asia, and Latin America. We look at what we are doing with our products and how we can continue expanding them. How do we customize them to make sure they are addressing the needs and concerns of audiences so they understand our intention to bring them a sense of well-being and great storytelling?" She points out that her entire team is a diverse group spanning different genders, cultures, abilities, generations, because everybody has a story to tell, and she wants to make sure people see themselves in the stories Disney's telling. Among her responsibilities, she works with the culture advisors from these different places around the world so that people feel welcome when they step foot inside a Disney park and that people feel like their culture is being well represented, especially when you start looking at parks around the world. She said that it is important that our guests be able to see themselves in the experiences we create. Currently, she's one of, like I said earlier, the lead Imagineers taking over the huge undertaking of transforming Splash Mountain into Tiana's Bayou Adventure. The amount of research and heart that has been poured into this project already is amazing. If you go watch and read some of the Disney Parks blogs and some of the information they put out on their socials about going to New Orleans, talking to people, and really jumping headfirst into Tiana, I'm excited for it. You know, I don't like water rides, and I'm excited to see what they do there. So Carmen's had a lot of jobs. She's worked with a lot of big names. She's done a lot of important things. And I feel like her story is a little bit harder to tell than when I talk about like an Imagineer who's worked on this, or an artist who's worked on this movie, this character. Hers is a little bit more broad, and it's a bigger picture role, but I think that this quote from her sums up exactly what her role is and why she's so important to the Disney company and to storytelling in general. We create experiences that make people feel welcomed, seen, and heard, and let them know that their stories are important. So, to Carmen and your team, overhauling this amazing attraction into something that the next generation and more families can enjoy, thank you. Now, let's dig into this sweet potato pie. Now, I've actually never had sweet potato pie, I don't think. Maybe I'm wrong, but I don't recall ever having it. And that's because I was really picky as a kid. I'm not really picky now, you probably know that. And I didn't really like pie. Like, I was weird, I guess, because I couldn't get into pie. And recently I've been very into pie. I think it's because I like that it's often made of like fruit, which is not super duper like over the top sweet, and crust is delicious. So I missed pie for a long time in life. Like Thanksgiving wasn't for me, but now I have pie and I'm excited. So it's a nice ooey gooey sweet potato pie in there. I'm very excited to try this. It got a little bit of spiced nuts on top. Whoa. What have I been doing? This is so good. Oh my God, I hope this stays around. You've got the nice sweet potato filling in there, which isn't too sweet on its, I mean, it's naturally sweet because it's a sweet potato, but it's kind of runny and milky, which maybe texturally is not for some people. I don't mind it. And then the whipped marshmallow topping is not super sweet at all. It's nice and light, and then you've got a crunch from both the crust and these nuts on top. I have been missing out on pie. Not a lot of pie to make up for. Tell me your favorite pie in the comments so I know what to do. Whilst I enjoy this truly delicious sweet potato pie, let's talk about Lanny Smoot. If you follow Disney on social media, you've probably seen Lanny Smoot recently, and we'll get to why in just a minute. But Lanny Smoot is an inventor, engineer, and scientist, and a research fellow at the Walt Disney Company, which is the highest technical honor you can have working for the Disney Company, and he has worked there for over 25 years. Let's back it up a little bit. Lanny has always had an interest in fixing with things and tinkering with things, and he told a story in an article I read that his father brought home a battery, an electric bell, and a light bulb when he was a little kid, and he figured out how to wire them together so that when the bell would ring, the light bulb would light. And from then on, he knew he wanted to learn everything he could about engineering and science and become an inventor. Lanny eventually got his master's degree in electrical engineering from Columbia University, and he went to work for Bell Communications Research, where he worked for a long time, and his work includes working on the early iterations of video on demand. He moved to work for the Disney Company right around the turn of the millennium, and he has worked on a lot of projects, many of which we have all had the pleasure as Disney fans to see and enjoy around the world. Some of his projects at Disney include the electromagnetic eyes that are used in audio animatronics, especially more recent audio animatronics. He built the fortress explorations at Tokyo Disney Sea, which blew my mind when I got to go there. He did the interactive koi pond at Hong Kong Disneyland. He is the reason that Madame Leota's head at the Haunted Mansion now floats in the ceiling. Remember when they first made the attraction? Yale Gracie, as brilliant as he was, had to have the thing sit on the ground because of the way the projection works. Well, Lanny Smoot figured out years later how to have it that they could project from the inside out, and now her head can float. Lanny also worked on the Star Cruiser with the lightsaber experience, where you could join and go to lightsaber training and interact with the lightsabers. And what's that other thing he did? Oh yeah, he made the real lightsaber. You know, the real lightsaber that Rey used at the Star Cruiser that they use on all over promotional events? Lanny Smoot made that. I'm telling you, this thing is so amazing that I've had the pleasure of seeing it multiple times in person, and I cry every time. It is mind-boggling. It is magic. But it's not. It's Lanny Smoot. It's probably no surprise that Lanny Smoot has over 106 patents to be exact, and 74 of those are from his time working at the Walt Disney Company. He has the most of any Disney creative ever in the history of Disney. And possibly, if you've heard of Lanny Smoot before today, it's because he is one of the 2024 inductees into the National Inventors Hall of Fame. He is only the second person to ever be inducted from the Walt Disney Company, the first being Walt Disney, who was awarded the honor posthumously in 2000 for his work on the multiplane camera. But imagine that, being the only person from Walt Disney Company to be in the Inventors Hall of Fame besides Walt Disney. Unbelievable. And when Lanny was asked what he wanted to be highlighted of all his Rolodex of work at the Hall of Fame ceremony, he said, "Where's the fire?" Does anyone remember this from Innovations at Epcot? It was about home fires and staying safe in your home, and it was like an interactive flashlight that had this technology that when you shined it on things on the walls and on the floor, images would appear behind it. So out of all of his work for Disney, That's his favorite, and that's what he chose to show off his talents at the Hall of Fame induction. Currently, you can go see his work on the hollow tile floor, which is this very cool omnidirectional floor that moves in all different directions and different people can be walking on it. You see him sitting in a chair in the footage of it. They haven't used it yet, but the possibilities are endless. He talks about maybe using it in VR, so who knows where we will see Lanny's work next or what he's going to continue to do. What an icon, what a hero. And a little personal story. When I was in Disneyland last week, I saw him and he was standing in front of the Walt Disney statue in Disney California Adventure, and he didn't appear to be busy, so I told him congratulations, and he was very kind to take a photo with us. But wow, I was starstruck because this man made the real lightsaber. Anyway, Lanny, congratulations. Well deserved. I cannot see what you dream up and make up next. Cheers. The pie is so good. Like, there's a little bit of salt on it, so it's like elevating the flavors. I'm honestly flabbergasted that this came out of a quick service restaurant. Because normally my favorite desserts are from stands or carts, so like a Dole Whip or something that's not like at a restaurant. But this one, oh, changing the game like Lanny. Made our way all the way to Fantasyland to the Pinocchio Village Haus for our next treat. Pinocchio's Village Haus is the quick service restaurant here in Fantasyland that is known for having the flatbread pizzas. So not the puffy pizza here in this park, flatbreads, which I feel equally about flavor-wise. I will say this restaurant is adorably Pinocchio themed, and some of the tables actually look down into It's a Small World, which is a fun little spot to sit. We're not gonna sit there though. We're gonna go to one of my favorite secret places to eat, but we'll order to be picked up. I mean, this restaurant really is so cute. Look at Cleo the fish and some of the stained glass. And then if you come in here, that room's called the Figaro room, and you can see Figaro with his plate of fish he's about to eat. There's a bunch of cuckoo clocks in here that Geppetto would have worked on. All right, acquired my treat, and I'm headed upstairs, which a lot of people don't know there is an upstairs. It's probably one of the best kept seating secrets in Disney, besides maybe Columbia Harbor House, because come right up here. It's not a huge space, but you do have a space up here with some tables. Look, there's like, I think one other family up here right now. Maybe two outside. If it's not too hot, or in the mornings, look, you could come out here and have your treat right here with a beautiful view of Fantasyland and Cinderella Castle. And along with a gorgeous view of Fantasyland, we are going to be enjoying the Peach Cobbler, which has cinnamon panna cotta, peach cobbler, brown sugar streusel, whipped cream, and topped with a white chocolate decal of Princess Tiana. And what's extra special about this treat is that on the Disney Foodie Guide, which is put out by Disney Parks blog, when they're doing a new event, they put out all the food you can look forward to. Sometimes they share some backstory, some history to the dish. And I love when they do that. This one, they said, was designed by pastry assistant sous chef Tiana Robertson. And she's been making this signature recipe since age 10. It was inspired by her grandmother's recipe, and this cherished dish defined her childhood, passed down through generations. It stands as a beloved family tradition. Okay, let's dig in. I love that they sometimes have cast member stories on the Disney Parks blog with the treats, because it's really fun that cast members like get to share their traditions and their recipes with all of us, right? So I love that. Okay. I'm from Georgia, Atlanta specifically, and my mom used to make peach crisp a lot growing up, so this tastes very like nostalgic for me. The peaches are delicious. I love the panna cotta on the bottom. It's very creamy and dreamy, and then you've got a little bit of the like, you've got a crunch kind of from the streusel, like the crumble topping is adding in a texture differential between the peaches, and then you've got the cream panna cotta and a little house-made whipped cream on top. Simple deliciousness that is delightful. Each dessert's like better than the last. Like, I thought beignets would be the winner hands down, and I think for just beignet related appreciation, they're my favorite so far. But like, each dessert I try for this, it's delicious, and I wish some of these would stick around because I think they're better than most of the quick service desserts that are here normally. And while we're enjoying this, we're going to talk about Carol Holiday. Carol Holiday grew up in California and initially wanted to be a theater actress or a movie star, but found it a little too risque for her liking, so she switched and pursued animation. She graduated from the legendary Cal Arts with a BFA in animation, and then went on to work on a couple of different projects outside of Disney before she started there with Hanna-Barbera and other animation studios. Eventually, she came over to Disney and was an assisting animator on movies such as Oliver and Company, The Little Mermaid, Tarzan, several animated sequels and shorts featuring Winnie the Pooh, Mickey, and more. So we've definitely all seen some of Carol's work. And it was her love of theater, which is, remember, what she originally wanted to do, and her love of animation that eventually she found her niche, she found her talent, she found her calling as a storyboard artist. Now, storyboarding, which is something almost every movie uses today, actually started at the Disney Company in the 30s, with the Three Little Pigs short being the first time a full storyboard was ever completed. And if you've watched any kind of like documentaries or behind the scenes things about Disney movies or probably other movies, you've probably seen storyboarding. It's when they literally like draw out highlight moments from the entire movie and put it all up on a board, a literal storyboard, so that the animators and the creatives and the people behind the movie can walk through and be like, and then this happens, and then this happens, and then this happens. And like, it is so wild to think that this concept started at Disney and now movies use it just all. I saw it at the Academy of Motion Pictures Museum in California. I've seen storyboards from my favorite movie, Jaws. You've seen them from Jurassic Park. Like, movies use this, started for animated shorts at the Walt Disney Company. But Carol found her calling in this, in combining the story with the animation. And she storyboarded dozens of projects for the Walt Disney Company, including a Goofy movie, Tarzan, episodes of shows like Elaine of Avalor, Sophia the First. She also co-wrote and story-directed Donald's Gift, the short in the Mickey's Twice a Quanta Christmas DVD. And very recently, she came out with her first children's book called Fish Out of Water. She said she wrote it after years of waiting to get the chance to make an animated feature and she wrote it with the desire to encourage children to follow their dreams, even if those dreams don't look the way that they first imagined them. And I just love that story of she had it set out that she wanted to do this one thing, she ended up doing something else, and then she was able to combine the two to achieve her ultimate success as a storyboard artist for the Walt Disney Company. So, to Carol, we thank you for a Goofy movie, for moments in A Little Mermaid, Tarzan, and many, many other stories. Cheers. All right, we've got one more stop at the Magic Kingdom on Main Street, USA, before we head off to our second location. Obviously, I gotta shake this bait. Come on. It's on mobile order. It's right there. Made it to our final stop here at Magic Kingdom, right at the tip top of Main Street, USA, the Plaza Ice Cream Parlor. This is where you can get that hand-scooped ice cream in different sundaes, and they have a sundae that I'm really excited to try. I have a lot of nostalgia for the Plaza Ice Cream Parlor. We came here a lot when I was a kid. My mom would always get us ice cream, and then we would watch the fireworks, and as much as there's fun, crazy, over-the-top, unique desserts around Walt Disney World, sometimes it doesn't get better than a scoop of ice cream. Normally, I'm a kid cone kind of girly at the ice cream parlor because they put chocolate coins on the ice cream to make it look like Mickey, but today, I'm a butter pecan praline sundae kind of girly, which is butter pecan ice cream topped with praline sauce, spiced pecans, and whipped cream. See, I used pecan and pecan in the same sentence. I think they're interchangeable. I'm really here for these spiced pecans on top because they're adding crunch. Butter pecan is not the ice cream flavor I'm normally gonna get. I would normally get strawberry or cookies and cream probably, but it's delicious, it's creamy and dreamy. I'm loving the addition of the pecans on top to add some crunch. Not tasting a bunch of the praline sauce, which I thought would be really sweet, like sickly sweet. And there's not a ton of whipped cream on it, which I don't love whipped cream out of a can. It's good, it's simple. It's not the best dessert I've had today, but I would eat it again. And this does feel like something you could get even after February's over. I don't know that they'll have the spiced pecans, but you can get nuts on top of an ice cream. And you could get a scoop of butter pecan with some whipped cream and some nuts, and it would be good. I think part of the reason I'm loving it, though, is because those glazed nuts that they have around the parks, those are one of my family's favorite treats. We always get those. Just remind me of that. While we're enjoying this delightful scoop of ice cream, let's talk about Juwan Rivers. He's from Orlando, heard of it, and then moved to Atlanta for college, also heard of it, where he went to Emory University. Eventually, he began working for the Walt Disney Company in hospitality at the resorts, and his first job was part of the opening team over at the Grand Floridian Resort. He worked his way up to be the director of operations for the Disney Reservation Center, which is when you call Disney to book your hotel room and your vacation package, that's the DRC, the Disney Reservation Center, so he oversaw that. He also was a general manager of the All-Star Resorts, the Wilderness Lodge, and eventually the vice president of Downtown Disney, which was the predecessor to Disney Springs. Additionally, in his Rolodex of work, he was the hotel director overseeing the room operations on both the Disney Magic and Wonder, Disney's first 2 cruise ships. In 2008, he was appointed as the opening vice president of Aulani, which is the Hawaii resort that Disney owns, and he helped oversee the $800 million construction project, ensuring not only that it would be up to Disney standards for their hotels, but also embrace the culture and heritage of Hawaii. In 2014, he was named the Vice President for Hotels and Business Solutions at Disneyland Paris, and in his tenure, he helped open 6 resorts here in Walt Disney World, Aulani, and 3 in Disneyland Paris. In 2014, he was promoted to be the Vice President of the best park in Walt Disney World. Those are my words, not the internet's, but we're gonna roll with it, Disney's Animal Kingdom. And he served in that role until 2021. Under his tenure at Animal Kingdom, he helped launch the After Hours program at Animal Kingdom. So many people said it was a half-day park, and he helped make it to be a fuller day experience with things like Rivers of Light, the projections on Tree of Life, the evening time safaris. And he worked very, very closely with Imagineer Joe Rohde on a little land called Pandora, the world of Avatar, which opened in 2017. He continued this work with Animal Kingdom until he retired in 2021, deciding that he wanted to spend more traveling around the world, which is one of his true passions. He's also pretty bad bleep, because in his personal travels outside of Walt Disney World, he has done things like run a marathon in Antarctica. And he was the first Black man and one of the first people ever to skydive over Mount Everest. So, again, in 2021, he left the Walt Disney Company to travel around the world, but not before he was given the honor of getting a window on Main Street. Having a window on Main Street is the highest honor that Disney parks can grant someone. If your name is on a window on Main Street in any of the parks, it means that your value and commitment and time and work that you've given to these parks is the top tier. It is the creme de la creme. And Juan was the first African American to ever get one in 2021. Which is very special, but also 2021 is late. But we're gonna finish this Sunday, we're gonna cheers to Juan, and then we're gonna go find his window. All right, I found it. About a third of the way down Main Street from the castle, on the Emporium side, over part of the Emporium on the yellow here, you're gonna see the Academy of Talent Education. And under that, you've got the faculty, and you've got 4 names: Phil Holmes, Trevor Larson, Jim McPhee, and Juwan Rivers for international operations. Now, I will say it needs a paint touch-up because a little bit's chipping, and I had to look online to officially know what it said. But there you go, Juwan's window on Main Street. Oh, to have a window on Main Street, the ultimate dream, the ultimate success. I love going down the line and looking at the names and seeing who I know and what they've done for the company. It's a lot of fun. Now we are headed out of the Magic Kingdom and on to our second destination. I am quite full of treats, but I've got room for one more, kind of like the Haunted Mansion, and a special one indeed at our next destination. But I have one more person I want to talk about as we're leaving Magic Kingdom. I just didn't want to overflow of treats. I love to mix up the different disciplines when doing these videos, since the Walt Disney Company is so many different things. It's not just parks, it's not just movies, but it's also Broadway, it's also television. So for Broadway, we're gonna talk about James Monroe Englehart. James was born in Hayward, California. His dad was a minor league baseball player. His mom was a high school choir teacher. He eventually went to Cal State and he started acting. One of his first roles included the teen angel in Grease. His first role on Broadway was as the Billy Flynn replacement in the long-running show Chicago, and other of his Broadway roles included the 25th anniversary Putnam County Spelling Bee and Memphis. But the reason he's particularly so important to the Walt Disney Company is that he originated the role as the genie in the Broadway adaptation of Aladdin in 2014. Which he won the Tony for, by the way. Since the genie, he has been in Hamilton as the Jefferson Lafayette role, which we actually saw him in when we saw Hamilton on Broadway, which was awesome. He is currently starring in the Spam-A-Lot revival as King Arthur, but its Disney credits don't end with the genie, or I guess Hamilton's kind of in the Disney canon thanks to Disney+. He has also done a lot of voice acting for Disney, including Lance Strongbow in Tangled the series, Bronzino in Elaine of Avalor, Oscar in Vampirina, Taurus Boba in DuckTales, and John the Bear in the recent film Wish. Outside of Disney, he's appeared on shows like The Unbreakable Kimmy Schmidt, Law & Order, The Marvelous Miss Maisel, and much more. But as a lover of Broadway, and I love the fact that Disney's on Broadway, had to celebrate someone, and who better than James for that during this month. Hello from Port Orleans French Quarter, our final destination today. This is a lovely moderate resort here at Walt Disney World, themed to the magic of Mardi Gras in Louisiana. Really fun resort. We've done a whole video on here during our staycation series, so certainly check that out if you want to see more of Port Orleans French Quarter. But for now, we're headed into Scat Cat's Lounge for our last two eats. I love this resort, and Scat Cat's Lounge is the full bar here and jazz club at French Quarter. They've got live jazz music on the weekend evenings, and y'all, they are so good. Highly recommend checking them out if you're staying here. I am not here on a weekend night, so I won't get live music today, but what I will get is a cocktail and, saving the best for last, y'all, boozy beignets. Now, of course, I'm getting the seasonal, the Celebrate Soulfully dishes, but I do want to highlight that their food here is legitimately very good. Again, we did a video here, and I'm a big fan of the wings. I'm a big fan of the Scat Cat beignets, which are the classic Mickey-shaped beignets, but they come with a variety of savory dipping sauces, which doesn't sound like it's going to be good, but I promise it's delightful. So if you're staying here or you want to come in for a cocktail and some good music, know they've got some pretty good bar bites too. Our first treat here at Scat Cat's has arrived. This is the Southern Citrus Twist. It is made with Uncle Nearest 1884 small batch whiskey, lemon juice, maple syrup, and Hella Cocktail Company orange bitters. Y'all, it sounds so delicious. And I love Uncle Nearest whiskey. What's amazing about Uncle Nearest whiskey is that it is a black-owned, female-owned distillery, which is pretty much unheard of. In fact, 50% of the employees are women. And I've always loved that. I learned that in making another one of these videos talking about this whiskey. Ooh, my other treats here, hold on. We're gonna finish the Uncle Nearest story in a second, but before we do, I must appropriately call your attention to the second treat, which just arrived fresh out of the fryer. These are the berry beignets. These are their house-made beignets, the classic ones that come in a Mickey shape, although they can't for a particular reason you'll see in a moment. And they are topped with a mixed berry compote. House-made caramel sauce using the Uncle Nearest whiskey, powdered sugar, and in that pipette, y'all, more Uncle Nearest whiskey. Disney literally took beignets and now they're putting whiskey in them. And I think I might cry because this could be the best thing I've ever eaten. Period. Before we taste the delicious Uncle Nearest concoction, let's finish the story. So Fawn Weaver learns the story behind some of the most famous whiskey in the world, and that it was often accredited to a preacher named Reverend Call, and he's the man that taught Jack Daniels how to make whiskey. But it turns out that's not exactly true. Because he was a reverend, it wasn't exactly the best thing for him to be making whiskey, so someone else was making it for him. That man was named Nathan Green, but he was lovingly often referred to as Nearest and eventually Uncle Nearest. Uncle Nearest is a pioneer of whiskey making, and he is the person who taught Jack Daniels how to make whiskey in the 1850s. But this former enslaved man was largely never heard of until the last 15 years or so. So Fawn Weaver learns everything she can, including goes to Tennessee. She finds historians, she finds documents, she finds people, descendants, and she learns all about this man, again, who's largely gone unknown for most of history, and she decides she wants to honor him, and what better way to honor him than by starting her own whiskey brand. And what's extra amazing about Uncle Nearest whiskey brand, besides the fact that it's delicious, it's also female-led, and the master blender, the master distiller of the whiskey, is a woman named Victoria Edie Butler, and she is a fifth-generation descendant of Uncle Nearest. And it's clear that she inherited the talents. And don't take it from me. She has been named Master Blender of the Year 4 times, including twice back-to-back from Whiskey Magazine. And that was the first time anyone in history got that honor 2 years in a row. So I am obsessed with the fact that this whiskey is here and available. And it's available year-round. There are cocktails that have this whiskey in it all year-round at Walt Disney World. There's a pineapple cocktail Alan likes to get that features it. It's delicious. If you're a whiskey drinker, I highly recommend picking up a bottle. So this toast, partly to the ladies at Uncle Nearest and partly to Uncle Nearest himself. Cheers. Oh yeah. so often, Disney drinks are so sweet, and this one is so perfect. It is light, it is refreshing because you've got the lemon, but you can clearly taste that it's whiskey. It's got a little bit of tartness to a little bit of sweetness from that maple syrup. If you want to learn to like whiskey, this would be a great intro drink. Or if you're a whiskey drinker but want something a little fresher, lighter, brighter, this is fabulous. But while we're sipping on this, we're going to talk about Ron Husband. Ron Husband was born in California to a single mom who he credits with his strong work ethic. And he was very naturally gifted at drawing. In fact, he was so naturally gifted at it that he didn't think he needed to take any kind of art class, because why would he need to take a class at something he's already good at? But eventually he entered a contest, and he was invited to go to the finals for this contest all the way from California to New York, where he won the national prize for pen and ink work. And he realized then that if he took things seriously, he could actually make a career out of drawing. After college, he did get a job at Disney, and the way he did it is, I think, pretty brave and pretty funny. He left a portfolio outside the Disney studios and addressed it to Eric Larson. Eric Larson was one of the original animators at Walt Disney Studios, one of Walt Disney's 9 old men, and at the time, he was in charge of recruitment. Eric took a look at the portfolio, and they hired Ron. Unfortunately, in 1978, at the young age of 28, Ron was diagnosed with a brain cyst and told that he would likely die or be paralyzed from therapy, which is obviously horrific news, especially to someone who uses their hands for a career. But luckily, after 3 months after surgery, he started to recover and ended up with little to no symptoms, so he got back to work at Disney. And I think we've all seen something with Ron's work, because in his 38 years animating with the Walt Disney Studios, he worked on The Rescuers, Pete's Dragon, Fox and the Hound, Oliver and Company, The Little Mermaid. He did Gaston for Beauty and the Beast. He did Jafar for Aladdin. He did Pumbaa for The Lion King, John Smith for Pocahontas, Jolly for The Hunchback of Notre Dame, and the Mickey version of The Three Musketeers. Ron was the first black animator to reach the title of supervising artist at Walt Disney World. Ron, since he left Disney, has continued in animation, and he even wrote a book, Quick Sketches with Ron Husband, if you want to try and learn how to draw from Ron. But a really cool thing about Ron is that the apple doesn't fall too far for the tree with his son, Jay, who also began working at Disney as an animator and is currently the CEO of his own animation studio, Gyration Joint Productions, LLC, where Ron sometimes pops in and works on projects with his son. So to Ron, thank you for Gaston, for Pumbaa, for Jolly, to many, many more. Thank you. All right, here we go.
Crazy? Yeah, I got a work trip. Yeah, we a little bit of work trip. Good. We live in a palace, so it's not too bad for us. Do you want me to just put the salt ring on the Yeah, good.
This is the best dessert Disney's ever made. You squeeze that pipette in there, and they're so fluffy that all of the whiskey gets soaked up in the dough. And then you've got your fluffy beignets, you've got your little dusting of powdered sugar, and then you've got this fresh berry compote on it, which just tastes like mashed berries. So it's fresh. It tastes like a pie, and a shot of whiskey had a beautiful baby. They've done it. This is the best dessert that Disney's ever made. I'm so sad this will not be available at 365. I'm gonna plead someone. I'm gonna talk to Mickey. I'm gonna try and get Bob on the horn. This is a dream I didn't know I had come true. To close us out, we are gonna talk about the legend, the queen, the icon, Shonda Rhimes. Shonda was born in Chicago. Her parents were a college professor and a university administrator. And interviews say that from a young age, Shonda showed a predisposition to storytelling. She also volunteered at a hospital when she was in high school, and she really was interested in hospitals, which those two things are spoilers, or very obvious references to what she's going to do later in life. She graduated from Dartmouth, where she was part of the Black Underground Theater Association, where she rotated between performing, directing, and acting. After graduation, she moved to California. She studied screenwriting and eventually got her master's from the USC School of Cinematic Arts, where she ranked top of her class. While working her way through school, she had to have a couple of odd jobs, including she was a counselor for folks with mental illnesses, teaching them different life skills so that they could move on with life and do things like get a job, and she'd remember some of those stories. She also, while working for her degree, interned under Deborah Martin Chase, who is a famous TV and film producer and actually the first African-American female producer to ever have a deal at a major studio. Eventually, Shonda found her niche and started working on documentaries, including a documentary called Hank Aaron: Chasing the Dream, which won the Peabody Award. In 2001, she wrote Crossroads, the Britney Spears movie. Sure, critics didn't love it, but I did. And I bet some of you did too. She also wrote the screenplay on Princess Diaries 2. And all of that I learned researching this movie because none of that is what I knew her for. I think we all know the show that we know Shonda Rhimes for. And the starter to that show is Shonda is quoted as saying she wanted to make a show that she would enjoy watching and thought it would be interesting to create a show about smart women competing against one another. And remember how she loved hospitals? Those two things combined, and Grey's Anatomy was born. Grey's Anatomy initially was only slated for 4 episodes as a mid-season replacement to Boston Legal. But it is now the longest-running scripted primetime show on ABC, and it was once in the top 10 shows in the entire country, and it's gotten 38 Emmy nominations. 38. Shonda said that she wanted to create a world in which you felt as they were very real women. Most of the women she saw on TV didn't seem like people she actually knew. She felt like they were just ideas of what women were. They never got to be nasty or competitive or hungry or angry. They were often just the loving wife or the nice friend. But who gets to be the beep? Who gets to be a real 3-dimensional woman? And I gotta say, as a fan of Grey's Anatomy for many, many years, she did develop some of the best female characters. I still love Meredith Grey. In addition to the success of Grey's Anatomy, she continued to dominate ABC primetime with shows such as the Grey's Anatomy spinoff Private Practice, Scandal, How to Get Away with Murder, and Station 19. Her production company, Shondaland, shocked the world in 2017 when she signed a deal with Netflix to leave traditional TV, which a lot of people were advising against. She signed a $100 million deal to air her shows on Netflix. And she's also worked with them on originals such as Inventing Anna and Bridgerton. Shonda Rhimes has been nominated for multiple Emmys for both Grey's Anatomy and Bridgerton. She's won multiple NAACP Image Awards, Writers Guild Awards, and more. Shonda Rhimes is now one of the most successful entertainers in Hollywood, period. Not most successful black entertainers, not most successful female entertainers, most successful entertainers, period. And she's worth $250 million. So does Shonda, who gave us the Denny Duquette storyline. She gave us It's Handled and the greatest love triangle TV's ever seen on Scandal. She gave us Viola Davis's epic character, Annalise Keating, on How to Get Away with Murder. Spent many nights with Shonda and her stories. Thank you. And also, thank you to Disney for this. Well, that is a wrap on our Black History Month video celebrating Soulfully here in Walt Disney World. Thank you all so much for watching this video. I really love doing these videos. I love researching and learning about people that aren't often talked about as far as bringing Disney magic to life in all different mediums. And a lot of love goes into these videos. And I am very aware of who I am when I make these videos. So I just really want to appreciate all of you that choose to watch these videos. I know they're not as fun as like some of the challenge videos or the resort stays and things, but I think they're really special. So thank you guys for being here. And in the tradition of these Snacks and Facts videos, we will be doing a donation. This month we will be donating to Black Women for Wellness. Black Women for Wellness is a nonprofit that started as a partnership with the Birthing Project, which is an organization that works to combat both infant and mother mortality, which very unfortunately impacts Black women more than white women. However, over the existence of this organization, they have grown, and now they help Black women and girls with a variety of health issues, including access to proper health care as well as education. A little snippet from their website, it states that your donation fuels our ongoing fight to expand healthcare access for Black women and girls, reduce toxic chemicals that are prevalent in our community. Programs include nutrition, chronic disease prevention, environmental justice, civil engagement, and policy work. So they do a lot of great work. So excited to donate $500 to them this month. If you're interested in donating as well, I'll put the link down in the description of this video. But in the meantime, friends, make sure to rate, review, subscribe, follow us on social media, come hang out with the main famous Discord. And until next time, friends, I'm Molly, and it has been so magical. Bye!